It was different than anything I'd done before in engineering or neuroscience, because back then it was like, oh, do I have to keep doing this? And like with writing, it was kind of just becoming this not quite bitter, but kind of just like I was like an old married couple with my manuscript. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Neither one of us is happy about this, but we're doing it, and like, there's no question that we're gonna walk away from this.
Welcome to Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Luke Mitchell.
Yes, we do. And it was such a great episode, though I felt fairly unintelligent next to his smart guy.
Yeah, he had a lot of good information and a lot of good ideas. We talked to him about moving from KU to direct sales,
right,
and self-editing, and he's writing short stories and kind of how he uses those to take a break.
Yeah,
but then how he's also using them to market his books,
and
a little bit about moving away from social media too.
Yeah, we did, and he got kind of burnt out, and that's he was on that publishing fast and furious model. And got kind of burnt out and decided to write some short stories to change things up. And it was great. It's been it was a great episode, and it's been great for him, I think.
So that is coming up. We have a new supporter this week.
Yay!
Yeah. We have Liv, I believe is how you said, Erickson, and she chose the little dog for her emoji. So thank you for joining us, Liv.
Yeah. And our new benefit for our supporters are writing sprints. We're going to start those this Tuesday. Well, we've already started. When this
goes out, this will go out on Wednesday. We'll have started yesterday.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah, it was great. Y'all missed it.
Yeah.
So it's Tuesday and Thursday, 11 Eastern, 10 Central, and 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific, we think.
Yeah. I put question marks in there because I'm terrible at time zones, but apparently that will
be in the Slack group. So
yes. So just go there when the time says on the link. Yeah. That'd be the best thing to do. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we're going to try this out and see how it goes. And hopefully it will help us get some more writing in and help y'all get some writing in too.
So, but thank you to all our supporters. We just appreciate it so much. I mean, it tells us that you appreciate what we do. That you want us to keep doing it. And because, we've been doing this a while now, almost 5 years. And so I don't know what the average life of a writing podcast is, but I know that we're getting long in the tooth. So we do appreciate you letting us know that this is what you want us to do.
This is episode 237 is what I have down. So, and I think most podcasts, they say if you can make it past like 10 episodes, you're doing great. So we have hung in there.
We're like a bad habit.
That's right. We're not leaving. But we did set up the supporter thing so that if you've received value from the podcast and you want to give back, you can. And we just appreciate everyone who has joined us as a supporter. So thank you.
We do. We appreciate it so, so much. And we have a new text message this week. So if you want to text us, please do. And we love getting them. This one is from Raleigh, North Carolina. It says, listening to the delayed Save the Cat part of the conversation, Professor Snape in Harry Potter series is definitely intriguing enough to make you hope he's a hero, despite his being made out to be a villain through the most of the storyline. And that is true. That is true. I thought it was kind of sad the way they didn't really reveal that until, I don't want to give you spoilers.
Pretty deep,
it's been out
right?
for a while, yeah.
Like, I don't know that you're going to spoil it. So that was referring to last week's episode with Jess about Save the Cat. Right. And we talked about, if the Save the Cat moment doesn't happen, like right at the beginning, and characters that maybe are morally gray, but still have a Save the Cat. So it was a lot of fun. That was a good comment too on that. Good observation.
Right. And so like we said, we would love your text, but also we would love your questions because we'd like to do a Q&A session. We did not get any questions. So
we asked last week.
Or you're
or you're busy, or you really don't have any questions for us. And that's fine if you don't.
And that's fine. We've taught you everything we can. But we would love to answer any questions you have. And no question is too small and no question
Right.
is stupid at all, because
Right.
there's always somebody that doesn't know, I'm sure.
So if you have a question, you can send us a text. You can put it in the Facebook group. There's a post up there, and there's also a post in the Slack group. So if you have anything, or it doesn't have to be a specific question. If you're just like, I want to know more about, what you think about how to write good endings or something like that, just throw it out there. We're open to anything.
We are.
Yeah. So what have you been doing this week?
Well, I went to therapy, so everybody can take a sigh of relief. I'm not going to implode. And so I did that. I've been working on my social media. I've been doing TikToks and Instagram reels and then sharing them on Facebook. They're ridiculously silly.
Okay, so did you learn to edit?
I did learn to edit.
Are you editing?
I did edit. The last one I did edit it. And so that is,
how's that going? Do you like?
It's tricky. It's tricky. It takes too long. I mean, it all takes too long. It all is just stupid. Why am I doing it? I keep saying, I mean, like, I am getting a lot of positive feedback, which, of course
is good.
But I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not going viral or anything like that. So, but I was encouraged in the Clubhouse group that, that I'm in. We have a social media group that we meet every Friday. And Deanna Roy, who just encouraged me to repost those at different times with different hashtags, change the music if I can, or something like that. Because just to see what the algorithm would do. And so I have reposted three of them. And then I did one new one. I just reposted the third one today. And so we'll see, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, whatever the secret sauce is, I don't know that I have it, but I don't hate doing them, or I wouldn't do them. I make myself laugh, but, it would be nice if they, sold some books or something.
You wouldn't mind going viral for a little while, right?
And editing could help if I did it well. I'm just not sure how to.
Maybe your brand is just, hey, this is casual and I'm not.
It's pretty raw. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. Today's Saturday. I spoke at the Houston League of Romance Writers, and we did a talk on how to write funny. And Lindsay was there. Hey, Lindsay. She was there, and someone else came in on the Zoom. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. But thank you if you listened or whatever. That was fun. So that's what I've been doing.
Okay. Well, good. Well, that is good.
How about you?
Well, I am ramping up. I have my book releasing October 1st. So, we're closing in on the deadline. So if I was going to do anything, I was like, I got to get on that. So I've been doing pre-release stuff, contacting people, see if they want copies of the book. I set up book funnel promo because Historical Mystery Day is September 29th. And I talked about that a couple of years ago when I set all that up. And so I'm doing a historical mystery promotion. If you want to join, if you're a historical mystery author, it's in the book funnel group promos. So we'd love to have you and get some new people in there. So that's going on. I'll put a link in the show notes in case anyone's interested. And, I finished up the first draft, reading book 2, the first draft. So I'm done with that and so glad to get through with that. I feel like it's taken me like about 3 years, but it really has only taken me, a couple of months, but it feels like it. So I've actually gotten a lot done. I've been much more focused. Our little vacation get out of Houston during the heat of August we're winding up and heading back. So I feel like I'm kind of getting back into the routine. I was feeling very disconnected, even though we talked to people on the podcast and stuff. I've just been off in my own little world. So I feel like I'm getting back into the routine of things. I'm just doing a lot of stuff, like lots of little projects that I move each one forward like an inch. Right. And then I go work on another one.
Right. Well, one more thing. I'm going to do a little kind of group seminar. I'll take, I'm going to do 10 people if they're interested. And I'm going to do a very beginner how to just set up your KDP. Like, what do you do once you finish your book? Like, how do you set up your book? Format your book. How do you, just the basics. How do you set up your KDP dashboard? How do you do all that? So if you're interested in that, you can contact me through my website. It will be at a fee, but it's going to be a nominal fee. I'll just go ahead and say it, $150, which I think is very reasonable, because I know you guys don't have any money, but,
well, for the time it will save
but
you.
It's got, yeah. But we'll do it in a group. That way we'll set aside a few hours. That way, if people have questions or whatever, and we can talk about setting up your Amazon page and your blurb and all of that stuff. And so if you're interested, you can reach me through my website.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yeah. And the reason I'm doing this because I've had several people, talk to me about this very thing. And of course it's stuff I think people know and they don't know it, and they feel stupid asking in a group. So I just feel like, if you want to do it, we can do it, and you'll be with people that are kind of at your same level. And I'm not going to think you're stupid because I didn't know either.
None of us know. None of us knew when we started, and you just have to take it a little at a time.
And it's not anything you can't figure out. Like, you don't have to spend the $150 to do the thing. You can figure it out. The $150 is your shortcut fee.
Yeah, it's just a little, it will expedite things and make it just so you don't have to go research.
Right.
How do I do this? You'll have it all there. Right. So, and if you're doing it with other people, a lot of times you get the best ideas when you're working with other people. Correct. And then maybe you'll meet some other people.
Right. Exactly.
In this day of AI and, it's personal connection is always good. So
always
that's good.
Always the best. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. I almost forgot it. And I'm so good at self promo. And
you should definitely mention it and talk about it. You should. So I'm glad you did.
But anyway, that's it. So we should probably get on with the podcast unless you have anything else.
No, I don't. Get on to Luke. Here he is. Right. Well, today we are really excited to talk to Luke Mitchel. Hi, Luke. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
We're really excited you're here. And Luke has never been on a podcast before, so
yay!
True. So we'll see.
Me and Sarah.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So, Luke Mitchel is a rogue neuroengineer turned sci-fi pin monkey turned melted heap of goo on the living room floor. And we can all identify with that. In addition to his full-time experiment as a dad of two, he is also the author of the Harvester series, which is a post-apocalyptic alien invasion series, as well as a sci-fi series and Arthenian space opera series, plus oodles of silly and sometimes disturbing stories.
Short stories. Yeah. I love that you say the full-time experiment as a dad. Man, is that parenthood in a sentence?
So I came from a background of engineering and science, so everything that happens in my life feels like it's kind of an experiment in one way or another. It's been quite an adventure. Yeah. We have two boys, ages 4 and 2, so it's a wild time right now. Yeah.
So you're just tired, right?
Yeah, the 2-year-old's been on a sleep strike recently, so if I just ramble too much at any point, it's the delirious.
If you nod off, we'll cover you with a blanket. Yeah. Well, tell us how you got into writing.
So it kind of started in the serious sense when I was in grad school. I was studying neuroscience and I feel like both while I was studying engineering and also neuroscience, I was very interested in what I was doing, but never super fulfilled. And I don't know, I was always kind of just jotting down little ideas for stories. And I was not really one of those writers who just, from the age of 5 was like, I'm going to be a writer no matter what. It just kind of was something I started doing a little bit as something fun at nighttime. And it just really, really captured me. And I kind of fell in love with it to an extent that I was starting to wonder about, publishing and everything. And I kind of stumbled onto all the podcasts that are out there and that sort of stuff, found out about self-publishing. And that just kind of lit a fire in me, which was something that I feel like previously nothing else had done. So I just started doing it, and it kind of stuck. And yeah, no, it was I just happened to stumble onto all the right resources at the right times. And I still remember, like, in grad school, I would wake up and like actually have that, that silly grin on my face as I ran down the stairs to go write in the morning before I went into the lab.
Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that feeling has definitely changed as I've, gotten into doing this professionally and everything. But
As
yeah,
it does.
that was kind of
Yeah,
where I got
as it does. Yeah.
Well, do you still work in neuroscience, or are you a full-time writer, or what are you doing?
I'm a full-time writer at this point. So I was, in the lab there, and I had met my now wife Marina, and she was in med school. She was getting ready to move to Boston. We were in Philly at this point, and she was getting ready to move to Boston to start her internship and residency. And it was like at a period in my schooling where it was like I was going for a PhD, but I was just like I could technically cut and run with a master's at this point. And like I was enjoying the writing so much, and like just not disliking the neuroscience so much as just it wasn't really like captivating me in the way that I kind of had hoped it would. I was finding out that academia was maybe not where I wanted to be, because I mean I loved the science, but there was just so much about being an academic professor that I hadn't really appreciated until I was in a lab, and it's like, oh, this is just a lot of grant writing and all kinds of stuff, and a lot more interpersonal office politics and everything that I had ever imagined there would be. So, the writing was kind of an easy choice between the two, and I wanted to, stay where my wife was going to be. So I moved to Boston and just started writing full time, and it was awesome.
Well, if you're going to be writing, why not write about like aliens and lots of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, we like to ask everybody, what is your definition of success?
Yeah. I feel like that's a moving target a lot these past several years. So I mean, definitely when I started off, like I was, in Boston in this tiny little apartment, and my wife Marina was in residency, so she was working, like 18 hours a day, and I was like sitting there basically writing for, most of that time. And I got really caught into the idea of like, I was all on KU, Kindle Unlimited, and was really, really, just trying to win the race and stay on top of that, and just, not really thinking about where it would end up in the long term, but just like, if I can make this much money, monthly, then like, that's a good spot to be. So back then it was definitely like success was very much tied to output and earnings, and a lot more in the past couple of years, especially like after having kids and like just trying to make sure I can still write and like, be doing something while I'm, in the crazy years. I feel like success has changed a lot more to just, staying in the fight and like continuing to do this. And yeah, hopefully getting out, a book a year is kind of my general goal, and also sprinkling some short stories in there. And like I was saying before we started, a lot of my focus lately has been on kind of building direct sales. And I'm kind of like, maybe to my detriment, not even really paying much attention to what I'm doing on the retailers at this point. It's kind of just like in the background that's happening. And like most of the numbers I'm thinking about now are just what I'm doing, directly with my readers.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about that later. So I'm excited to find out the things you're doing and how your focus changed on that. What do you wish you'd known about writing and craft when you started?
I feel like I really lucked out in that I happened to find an editor like right off the bat who just really meshed well with me, and like kind of told me exactly what I needed to hear. I actually remember I handed her the first manuscript I ever wrote, and she like kind of asked me, she's like, do you want the the honest version of like all my feedback? And I was like, yeah, of course. And then she kind of like slammed me with this. I mean, it was really helpful stuff, but she taught me a ton. And then like I came back with my rewrites after that, and she almost like let out a breath, and in not so many words was like, okay, I didn't know if you were going to be able to like take this and do it, but like you learned a few things. So I mean, in terms of like mechanics and stuff, nothing really pops out, but I guess just probably one of the things that has slowed me down the most in terms of craft is just getting way too hung up on details.
Yeah.
Which can be, is maybe worth it in a lot of cases, but I think I tend to self-edit a little bit too hard, like still now when I'm writing. And I don't know, that's something that I've given myself a lot of grief on over the years. Just feeling like if I could only stop doing this, I could write faster. But I'm kind of starting to come around to like also just appreciate that like this is kind of how my brain works, and I'm very analytical. So I don't know if that really answers the question that well, but
I think it does, because I think a lot of us, I think a lot of us do the same thing, and I certainly do not have an analytical brain, but I do a lot of self-editing because, and I wish I could turn it off, because you're right, I would write faster, but you kind of have to come to a point where you're like, this is just how I do it. Yeah. You
find your personal balance that seems to mesh.
Yeah. So I'm curious, do you do a lot of drafts, like after you finish your first draft, do you spend a lot of time in revising each draft, or is it pretty good to go when you get to the end?
So
or close.
At this point, it's pretty much like I've kind of embraced the editing to the point where it's like I usually have mostly a done draft like by the time I finish it, and then it's usually nothing too big picture that needs to be changed or anything. It's more just going through and making sure that I like the way that everything reads. So I definitely am not a messy first draft kind of person. It actually kind of drives me nuts if there's something that feels like it's incomplete and I'm trying to move on. Like I feel like I'm trying to build a house of cards that's just not, it doesn't have the foundation there. And I just.
Yeah. But see, that's the upside, I guess, of doing a lot of editing as you go. If you get to the end and you only have a couple of revisions to do, just kind of light revisions, then, it's just a different approach.
I've kind of tried it both ways, and anytime I've tried to do it the messy first draft way, I've just kind of like imploded and like taken way longer revising than I would have taken if I had just self-edited the whole way through. So that's something I've definitely come to stop fighting myself.
That's good. It takes a while to come to that realization, like what works best. Yeah. Well, what about marketing? What do you wish you'd known about that?
I mean, I guess a couple things. One being that I'm still kind of like trying to convince myself this is not true, but it just seems like, some books just naturally just sell a lot more easily than others. And it seems like a lot of times it's nothing to do with what's actually inside the book. It's just like the premise and whatever details you can get into someone's head in like a quick ad. It works well for some books, and for some books it's just such a hard sell. And it's like, it kind of drives me nuts sometimes, because I have, it's like my Enochian War trilogy is probably my least read series, and it's like anyone who picks it up, not anyone, but my readers really, really enjoy it. But it's just like, it is so hard to get a cold reader to come in and pick it up. So that's one thing. It's just kind of, this isn't like a natural law or anything, but it seems like some series just sell a lot more easily than others, and it's just like has been a big lesson to kind of just lean into just really focusing all my efforts on marketing those books, and then just letting them be a gateway to everything else. Another thing that I wish I had known, or maybe am now wishing I don't know, is just how tiring it can be to deal with. Like I'm an extreme introvert, and I don't like conflict, and like I serve a lot of Facebook ads or meta ads, and the comments on those things just sometimes are just so draining. For instance, I had this headline on an ad that I thought I was being funny, and I just put in like all caps, under 2 billion copies sold. And I'm like, haha, this is funny. I'm so clever. And there are so many comments on that. And that's one of my like top performing ads. So like there are a lot of people seeing it. And there are just so many comments of people being like, oh, he said under 2 billion copies. So what does that mean? Does that mean he's over 1 million? Does that mean he's only sold one book? And I'm like, guys, this was, I thought, very clearly a joke, but now we're having a whole like conspiracy dissection of it. So just that kind of stuff. It's the same thing that I think I learned in academia, where it's like, no matter where you go, you're still doing a lot of relations with the public, and that's just something that I feel like I'm not very, very good at.
Right. But that is a genius headline. I'm just going to tell you right now. Yeah, you did good. You did good, because honestly,
generating interest and
people are commenting and oh my gosh. Well, what assumptions did you make at the beginning of your writing career, and looking back, did they turn out to be right or wrong?
I'd say mostly, I mean, kind of what I was talking about earlier, just a sort of short-sightedness when I was getting into the race to top the algorithms and everything, and just like not really questioning where the end game was, in terms of just, like, I actually was releasing books faster back then, and thinking that I could do it forever, and just not really appreciating what that would feel like, after having done it for like a few years. And it was like, I was already kind of starting to slow down, before having kids. And then like, our first son came, and it was like, okay, yep, this is just going to be a little bit slower now. Like, so, I mean, I guess the biggest thing was, I guess it's not even really an assumption so much as just a failure to look ahead and say, like, where do I want this to go in the next, 5 or 10 years? Which is something that, is always worth asking yourself, I think, but it's something that took me about 5 years to really start thinking about.
Well, I mean, I always say this, I always underestimate how long it's going to take to write a book. And I always underestimate the amount of time that I will have to write that book. And so, or maybe a better way to say this, I overestimate my abilities. And, and you can't control what goes on around you. I mean,
that's,
you just can't.
Especially if you have a 2 and a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
right. Yeah. That was gonna,
everything's out the window.
Really teaches you that. Yes.
Lord. That is a hard one.
I feel like I have kind of gotten a little bit more realistic about time expectations with my writing. It's more on the like business side of things that I really still trick myself. Like right now I'm in the middle of doing I'm switching some things on mailing list service providers and stuff, and like rewriting autoresponders and everything. And like, it's the kind of stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I have this 1 week that, Marina's off, and I can like work on this a lot right then. And knock these autoresponders out. And it's like, that was like 5 months ago, and I'm still working on it.
It's like a never ending process in a way.
Right.
Because once you get started, you're like, oh my gosh. And I also have this other one I forgot about. And then you start discovering things.
Right.
And, these rabbit trails that never end.
I know. Yeah. Some of these things are just so like built in loops upon themselves. And it's like, you can't fix one thing without fixing 20 others.
Yeah. If I had been smart when I started, I would have had a mind map or just a list of all my different things, and how anytime I created a new one, I would put it on there and say, hey, this connects up with this. But of course I did not do that. So it's just like a big tangled mess.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder about all the like dead links that I have probably left out there. I mean, people reading, copies of my book that they downloaded, like 5 or 6 years ago. And they're like, what? This website doesn't even exist anymore. What's going on? You do your best, but
yeah, that's all you can do sometimes. Well, what is the most important lesson you've learned, do you think?
That's hard to say. I mean, it might sound kind of cheesy, but I think really the biggest thing that has kept me in the game is just learning to give myself grace, and the times when things aren't getting done as fast as I feel like I need them to get done, and also just coming to accept that as fast as I think things need to be done is not actually as fast as they genuinely need to be done. Like this all takes time, and that's fine. And then on the writing side, I feel like the most important thing that's happened in the past few years is I've really had to kind of step back and relearn how to live the process instead of the product at the end. Because I almost wish I could have cloned myself when this all started, and like set one aside and say, like, you're the publisher and you're the writer, and the writer's never going to hear anything about what's happening out there, because it's really nothing that he needs to know. Like,
not his business.
Yeah, just keep him in the cupboard under the closet with his laptop and his chicken nuggets or whatever. And all the business stuff I feel like did kind of inevitably start to tarnish a lot of what I loved about the writing. And that's just, I mean, that probably happens to a lot of people, maybe to most people. And then at some point I just kind of realized that I was working on these novels, and like, I really liked what I was doing. And at no point was I like, I'm going to stop. It was kind of different than anything I'd done before, like in, engineering or neuroscience. Cause back then it was like, oh, do I have to keep doing this? And like with writing, it was kind of just becoming this not quite bitter, but kind of just like I was like an old married couple with my manuscript. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Neither one of us is happy about this, but we're doing it, and like, there's no question that we're gonna walk away from this. I don't know. I think. Sorry,
that's a good description of it sometimes, because you're committed, you're going to finish the manuscript, but sometimes you're like, why am I doing this? And you've lost that first excitement and passion, and you're like, okay, it's more a slog.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many years ago it was, but that was kind of where I started writing short stories at some point, and that was kind of like a real game changer in terms of just reminding me what that felt like to just like have fun with the story, and then like have no pressure about it, because it was like at first I wasn't even planning on publishing them anywhere, and that was kind of one of the things that really sparked what was going on with my novel writing. And I was like, oh, I need to like actually start enjoying this again, instead of just worrying about when the book's going to be done.
Right. Yeah, one of my favorite memes right now is the one, it's about marriage, and it says, "You're tired of me? Go have a snack and a nap, because we're staying in this. Like, we'll try again tomorrow." I'm like that. We've been married 34 years or something.
Okay.
I mean, we are definitely at that point. Like, okay, you're sick of me, just go get a snack and come back, and we'll talk about it.
That really is kind of how I've been starting to treat manuscripts sometimes, because it's like, actually the book I'm working on right now, I was like at the 40,000 word point, which seems like a lot of times is when I start to kind of slow down, and I'm like, wait, where is everything going? I've got this outline, but I kind of want to pause a second and make sure that everything's still feeling right. And we were also just it was a rough couple of weeks of work for Marina, and like we had a little family stress going on and everything, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go take a nap, which basically means like I'm gonna go write a couple short stories before I come back to this. It's taken me a long time to like accept that sometimes it's okay to do that, and it's like I have not a doubt in my mind that I'm going to get right back to the novel and do what I'm supposed to do. But there's no point in breaking yourself over it if it's fighting back at the moment.
Exactly. Fighting back. That's such a good phrase. Yeah. That's a great phrase. Well, what's the biggest change you've had to make in your thinking?
I think what I was just saying with giving yourself space when something's fighting back, I feel like that has been by far the biggest thing that has caused friction in all of this entire like authorship. And the other thing is just really changing from expecting a certain output and like counting on it to just trusting the process. And like, I mean, I'm not someone who like waits for the muse to strike to write or anything. Like I sit down and write every morning, but just coming to accept that whatever I do that morning is what I do, and like if it's not 1,000 words in an hour, then that's fine. And the other biggest change has just been in terms of focusing on direct sales and like on email marketing a lot more than the big retailers and social media. I'm actually completely off social media at this point, basically, which is funny because like I serve Facebook ads, but I basically never look at them. Aside from like I'll pop in once a month or so and just like make sure that there's nothing that needs to be muted or anything. But I guess so. Just focusing on the things that I actually kind of enjoy doing, which is writing emails and writing books,
right,
and avoiding social media.
Well, some authors love social media, but some authors really don't. So has it impacted anything by just like kind of letting that go? I think people would be curious about that.
I'm sure that there is stuff that I am missing out on by not being there. In terms of like both like interacting with my readers, there's people, I still get a lot of emails, but that's all a one-on-one. So I feel like, yes, it does kind of kneecap my ability to build a community that can actually communicate with each other. But it was something that when I was doing it was something that I enjoyed hearing from my readers and seeing them talk and everything, but it was also just something that kind of constantly felt like draining to me. I just it's a shame that that's not something I can balance on my plate also, but it just was one of the things where I was like, this is I think taking more energy than it is helping. So I just kind of, I don't even know if I really made a conscious like discrete decision at any point so much as I just kind of like leaned further back and back and back until they're like, wait,
you did
where
an
did we go?
Irish
And I was
goodbye.
Just kind of faded away.
At some point I went back in there and posted in like my reader group, and I'm like, guys, I think I'm just gonna, like stop poking in, but like please carry on if you guys are enjoying this. So yeah, I'm not the best at handling communications and public facing sort of stuff, but I'm doing what I can.
Well, I think it's the books, that people are interested in mostly.
Yeah.
And you still have your newsletter and all of that.
And the newsletter, like I really enjoyed writing a newsletter, and it seems like a lot of readers enjoy it too. So I feel like I don't know, that works better for me. So that's where I've put my beans.
Yeah. That's good. That's wise. Very wise. Well, if you were starting over today, what would you do differently?
So there's a part of me that wants to say that I would probably not do anything differently, because the whole like anything that I've learned from the process was something that I probably needed to figure out eventually. I guess I would, like, tactically, if I actually was just starting fresh right now, probably the only real change I would make is, instead of like focusing on KU and going all in there, I would probably have published wide from the start. And just, it's been a very slow growth on most of the other retailers, but it seems like it just takes time. So I kind of wish I would have started going wide sooner. And I guess the same thing with direct sales too. Although I actually have been doing that for a while, I just wasn't really putting much focus on it. So, really just, I guess the short answer to what I would do is kind of focus a lot more on getting wide and, trying to find really solid, readers that just stick with me for the long haul, instead of worrying about the fast churn, because I am not built to stay on top of it.
It's hard to do that continuously. Like you were talking about earlier, how it's like hard to maintain that pace.
Yeah.
So, well, you have a Patreon, right? So tell us a little bit about your Patreon.
So that, I can't remember if I started it, originally like just for people who like wanted bonus features from the books, or I think I kind of started it around the same time I was starting to write a lot of short stories. And like originally it was just kind of like you can choose tiers and like get signed copies of books and new releases and everything, but I pretty quickly realized that I didn't actually enjoy that as much as I enjoyed just using it kind of as a channel for people who wanted, like, not only my books, but also my short stories and everything. So kind of where I've landed is just like a flat, like one tier subscription model, where it's just like, right now it's $3 a month, which is, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I should make it higher, but I think that's fine, because I'm slow and I'm not outputting that many books. So basically it's just like patrons at this point get early access to any new book that I get. They get audio and ebook, and also a new short story each month, which is kind of where it just felt like it naturally fit into. I was really enjoying writing short stories, and I was like, well, what do I do with them now? So I've just been publishing them over there, and it seems like people enjoy them. I've also been, with the short stories, before I publish them on Patreon, I'll shop them out to a few of the larger sci-fi magazines like Asimov's and Analog and Clark's World and stuff, which is something that, I don't know, that was, it's not that I really have much of an interest in like entering the traditional publishing world. It was just kind of something where I enjoyed reading those stories, and I was like, it'd be fun to try to get published in these places, just as like I don't know, maybe an extra form of validation or something. It's like, look, the professional markets say that I can write too. That's cool.
Yeah, I get that.
But have you had any short stories published in any of the magazines?
No, not yet. No, it's almost, not embarrassing, but it's a number that doesn't make you feel good. But like I've had over 100 rejections at this point. I've gotten several emails back, like from the editors at this point, that are like, oh, we really enjoyed this story, but we're not going to take it now. Like, please keep submitting. So that's encouraging, at least. It's kind of funny to, like, on the one hand be, like self-publishing and have so many rave reviews and everything, and then like you go over here and you're like, and also my stories have gotten rejected 100 times, so it's like it's good. It's a good kind of humbling, I think.
Worlds. Yeah, it's a good balancing. Once you get the rejection, just go look at your bank account, and then you feel better. You feel.
But no, so I've been enjoying that just as kind of like a side stream of, I really enjoyed writing the short stories, and it's fun to shop them around, and then also I have a natural place for them to go onto Patreon once I've gotten a few rejections for them. So I don't know. That's been a very enjoyable kind of side flow of fiction that I've had going on for a couple years now.
Right. That's great. So do you like put them out as you have them, or is there a schedule or kind of?
So it's kind of like basically I have like a stockpile of stories that I'm submitting around at any point. And then like once I've gotten X number of rejections, usually like 8 or 9 for a story, I'm like, okay, I've submitted to the magazines that I was like curious about, so I'll just put this in the pile for like the monthly publication of Patreon, and I just kind of pick from that pile as I'm going per month. And yeah, I don't know, it's been fun.
That's great.
I think that's a good system because it like you obviously enjoy the short stories and they're kind of a break for you from the long manuscript, but then you are using them to entertain your readers, and it's just but it's also giving you possibly another outlet, other connections, because you will eventually get something published. If you keep doing it, you will. Especially if they're sending you letters saying we like this, not just the basic form rejection form.
Right.
So it'll happen. So I think that's a good mix of like activities and things that you have going on. Yeah.
It's also just been like a fun exercise for just kind of like being able to try totally different stuff and like write things that I never would have written otherwise. And it's like, if it takes a week, that's fine. But I'm not going to set aside a few months to like write a novel that it has no place in anything else that I'm doing. But so it's been good all around, I think.
Great. Like a little vacation for your brain.
Basically,
and your readers love it. So, I don't think you have to worry about social media. You're definitely satisfying your readers. So I think that's awesome. So let's talk about your direct sales. When did you start your direct sales?
So I set up a WooCommerce shop on my WordPress site like 4 or 5 years ago, and was starting to tinker with it. And I remember going to 20 Books Vegas. I don't even know what year that was. And I was like talking to a few people about it. I was like, I think I want to like start selling my books directly. And they're like, that's crazy talk. That sounds way too complicated. And then like, I kind of have my head in the sand all the time. So I listened to a few podcasts. So like, I kind of was starting to pick up the direct sales were becoming more of a thing. And then like, I'm going to Vegas this year for Author Nation.
I am too.
Oh, cool. So I signed up for that conference and like was just seeing the amount of direct sales stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I was just a few years early.
You were ahead of the trend.
So much so that I convinced myself I was crazy, and I just kind of like set it to the side. And it was there maybe about 2 years ago that I was starting to kind of thinking about revamping my store completely. And I happened onto Steve Piper's course, Ammo Marketing. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it or okay, yeah, I really enjoyed that course, but that was a big factor. And I was thinking about just overhauling my WooCommerce shop, and then started looking at Shopify more and was like, oh, this is probably actually a little bit of a smoother process to set up a store. So I just completely built a new store over there, which has kind of become my primary website too at this point. And it's just been a kind of a slow build, just figuring out best ways to get people over there and like whether it works best to, so far, most of my efforts have been through Facebook ads, basically like putting someone onto a landing page where they can grab a copy of my first book, Red Gambit, for free. Right. And then immediately and that's like a newsletter sign up kind of thing. And then immediately after they sign up, they're offered a chance to go ahead and just buy the whole series, right. Which has worked decently well. It's worked well enough that it's like my ad dollars are usually just breaking even or making a small profit. So it's like, it's not at a place where it's like, okay, I can just, scale. But it's been at least enough proof of concept where I'm like, okay, if I keep on figuring out how to work this, like, I think I can actually make this something that can kind of just replace my need for all the other aspects of the business. Not that I'm ever planning on taking my books off of, Amazon or anything like that, but just, that's what's worked so far. And right now I'm kind of overhauling my systems and basically starting to test if I can maybe just, instead of offering a lead magnet to start, like actually just get cold traffic from Facebook and sell them books directly, which is tricky. And that's an ongoing experiment, but we'll see. So it's one of those things where, like, in order to make these tests, I end up needing to build, like, 5 sets of landing pages, and it all takes time. And so it's a lot of extra work. And definitely, like, if someone's just starting off, I feel like there is a valid argument to just be like, why don't you just, focus on the retailers for now? I think that the direct sale stuff is probably the best fit for me moving forward, like in the long term, in terms of just like the ability to actually know what my readers are reading and like what they've bought and what they haven't and what they might want to read next and all that kind of stuff.
And who your readers are, right?
Right.
Well, did you come out of KU 2 years ago, or did you come out of KU before that?
That was, I don't know how many, I think I've been wide for either 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
So that was around the same time that I set up a WooCommerce shop and everything.
Okay.
I kind of just put everything wide and didn't really know how to actually push anything wide, but I was just like experimenting with BookBub ads and everything. And, I've slowly found readers on most of the platforms, but, actually Kobo has been, like neck and neck with Amazon sales for me for a while now. For whatever reason, it seems like Kobo readers like my stuff, whereas like, I've struggled to find anyone on Apple, and Google seems like it's kind of weirdly hit or miss on one month or another.
There was a lot of talk a couple of years ago about how Google Books was like the future and all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, I am in trouble if that is the future, because my sales over there are low.
Yeah.
It's all worked out. But are you in Kobo Plus? Do you use the Plus?
Yeah, I really appreciate, I mean, I enjoy the idea of a subscription service. It makes me sad that KU is, exclusive. Cause I really like Kobo Plus seems pretty cool, but if it was exclusive, then, it would probably, I wouldn't be able to participate. But no, I have enjoyed that. And it seems like I've gotten some traction over there.
I noticed when I moved, Kobo Plus is the subscription that Kobo readers can use, but it's not exclusive. So authors can have their books everywhere. And I noticed when I put my books into Kobo that my sales on Kobo went up. And so I don't know if it's just helping with discovery, but it's the same for me. I'm doing pretty well on Kobo, and it always surprises me when I see the numbers come in at the end of the month. I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah. Because if I remember right, like you look at the dashboard and it's like you see your actual like retail sales, but then like I don't think you see your Kobo Plus money until the end of the month. And it's like I don't look often, but when I look, I'm like that number that ended up in my bank account is higher than the number that I saw on the dashboard, and I'm okay with it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, I think I just think that's fascinating. I feel like just the work you put in, people that do it seem to get the benefit of it. From putting the work into direct sales. And so can they get your audiobooks and everything on?
At this point, I've got all my audiobooks are on there. I actually, so 2 of my series were published through Podium, the audio. So that was a big project. The past, I don't know, I guess it took like about 2 years all in total to like basically buy those rights back and get all the books back and everything. But no, I officially have everything back under my control. So everything is available on my store, like ebook, audio, and print. I'm doing print through Book Vault. I was doing Lulu for a while. And I switched to Book Vault just because the prices seemed better. I haven't sold enough on Book Vault yet to know if I can reliably say that the shipping is going to be like really good in the US. So far, I haven't had any problems, but I don't know. We'll see.
So would you say the biggest challenge is visibility, like finding readers or visibility, or are there other challenges to direct sales that you've found?
I mean, it's the visibility, and also just like the challenge of like how many extra things there are to build, because it's just like if you are already pressed for time, like it is a lot of extra work. But I think it's worth it for me because it just seems like it really works really well for how I'm operating. But the visibility thing it's pretty much, I mean, I guess I was going to say it's pay to play, but I mean, it seems like it's kind of that way most places. I was going to say
it's not really any different than what I'm doing on Amazon. I'm just I'm begging for visibility too. So
I think the only thing that is really different is that like with Amazon, you're probably serving Amazon ads for the visibility. Whereas like with direct sales, you need to find somewhere else that is not, it's either Facebook or, Google ads. I've been curious about trying to dive into Reddit ads, because I enjoy Reddit, and I have tried ads a few times and not really had much success, but I really haven't done that much testing over there. So that's something I might look into, because I, again, really do not enjoy serving ads on Facebook. Like, it's just, at this point, this is the place where I know that I can find readers, and it seems like the readers I find are happy that they found the books. But there's just also a lot of
there's a lot of
extra
noise,
comments that I could do, and a lot of people being very angry at me for trying to give them a free book.
Which is strange, but there it is. We didn't ask this before, so if you don't have an answer, that's totally fine. But is there anything that you wish you'd known about direct sales, that maybe you could help somebody else who's just getting started?
So, I mean, really, I keep repeating it, but I think it's really just the amount of like setup that's involved is it's super daunting. So if anyone is getting into it, like, I guess it's good to know that I think most people are a bit overwhelmed when they're dipping into it and seeing how many different aspects there are to get set up, and just, all the little details of linking up and making sure that your books are actually delivering after someone purchases them and everything, which BookFunnel is super amazing for that stuff. Basically, just the amount of upfront work is daunting, but it's doable, and it's apparently doable with two young children. Other than that, I guess, I mean, just like, this is not necessarily the case for everyone, but I feel like if anyone is thinking about it, Shopify is, in my opinion, a pretty good platform to be on. They've got a lot of tools that make a lot of this stuff easier. Yeah. And I would shout out Steve Piper's course too, for direct sales, just because he gets into like he basically walks through you step by step for like building an entire store and like implementing his system, which seems to be a pretty good system. So I definitely picked up a lot of handy tips and tricks from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did Shopify as well for my store, and it seems like once you get it is a lot of building and time on the front end, but then once it's set up, it's not that, like, just adding a new book to it is pretty easy, and so I'm pretty happy with that aspect of it. And it's like there's a lot of work on the front end, but then once it's set up, it seems to be. Have you found it that way too?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've definitely gone through a few phases of driving myself nuts on like, how do I want my pages to look, and like which of these add-on apps are going to like actually be helpful in terms of like social proof and all that kind of stuff. I feel like once and even just having the bare bones set up, like just a very simple store could probably work if you have readers already and you just want to send them somewhere and say like, here's how it works. You can go right here and buy my book and
figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I have found that like a lot of my readers seem to be pretty enthusiastic about the fact that I'm very open about, it's like, here, I'll charge you a little bit less on the direct store, and also like this still means that I'm making more money, so like it's a win-win for both of us. And it seems like people are glad to know that they're helping you out in that way, and still getting the same book at the end.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, this has been lots of fun and very informative. I think people will really enjoy the interviews. So we always like to ask everybody at the end, what's the best thing you think you've done to set yourself up for success?
Ooh, I think it's mostly just been the pivot to direct sales and finding this natural flow for how Patreon can work well with something that I already feel like I need to do for my sanity. So just I think really, if we're talking about long-term success and like not just financial success, it's really just kind of paying attention to the things that actually seem to work well for me and like seem to invigorate me and like make me excited to write, and then to just really focus on just doing those and let the other stuff go if it's stuff that doesn't absolutely need to be there. Like social media, again, I might be missing a lot of opportunities, but it seems like it was more energy than it was rewards at building a kind of full system for myself that is sustainable. I know that's a big buzzword right now, sustainability.
Right.
I think it's mostly that.
That's awesome. Well, tell everyone where they can find out more about you and your books and your direct store and all of that.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to poke around, they can just go to lukemitchellbooks.com, which is my Shopify site, but also kind of slowly becoming my primary site. And it's not fully developed. So there's a few things that need to be implemented still. But yeah, if anyone wants to get a look at what a Shopify site might look like, that's one option.
Perfect. All right.
Well, we'll have those links in the show notes.
And they will be at wishidknownforwriters.com. And if you want to support the podcast, you can go to that same link /support. And just thanks for being here today and talking with us. And we will see everybody next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.